Chris Lee and Blake Lovell from Southeastern 14 here, previewing one of the first football games of the college season, that being Hawaii and Vanderbilt. The Commodores travel across the ocean for their first game of the year. That in week 0, that's going to be a Saturday night, August 27 game, 9:30 Central. Blake, both these programs have been through it.
That's
Flashback a
why,
couple of years.
yeah.
Yeah, you're not
I've just got a
not high
smile
on
on
these
my
games.
face, but it's not a good smile. It's just kind of one of those like, boy, what a stretch it's been for these two.
Yeah, well, Vanderbilt 2 years ago goes through its first winless season under Derek Mason. You had the Sarah Fuller fiasco that split the team. You had losing an opener last year to East Tennessee State in the midst of a 2-win season. And then Blake, Hawaii, which was pretty good last year. I saw them play in person, says, hold my beer. You had basically, I don't know if it's a player revolt or what you call it, but the state legislature got involved. Todd Graham was dismissed or resigned, or however you want to put it. Mass transfers, coaching change, first-year coach. Both these programs are in a complete state of rebuild, although Vanderbilt may be 1 year further along than is Hawaii.
Yep, and that's why the line 6.5. We're recording this into July. Line 6.5 in favor of Vanderbilt right now. But you would think you would imagine that being bigger, right? Given the circumstances of kind of what Hawaii went through last year. But then again, you remember kind of where Vanderbilt's at, and then you're like, well, maybe that makes sense. You're going, like you said, you're traveling a very far distance. So that makes this an interesting setup heading into this game. But like you said, these are two teams I don't think you're going to have high expectations for making a bowl or anything this year. But this is one for both of them. You're looking at this and thinking, boy, we'd sure love to win this one because otherwise we feel like things could veer off course pretty quickly. So
Let's get right into it. Hawaii, new coach, and Timmy Chang, who's a hero there, was
Timmy
one of the better
Chang, yeah,
players who's ever played at Hawaii,
that
the
makes me feel
quarterback.
old knowing that he's the coach now because he was there. What, it was 2000? I don't know, early 2000s, right? So
Well, I've got news. We are old, but
well, that's true.
um, one of us more so than the other. But anyway, you've got a new coach, you've got a new system. Offensive coordinator Ian Shoemaker at Hawaii. Boy, he put up some numbers at Eastern Washington. 44 points a game, 556 yards, 6.8 yards per play. They threw the heck out of the ball. Cameron Cooper, who was the quarterback, the backup there, I suppose, has transferred to Hawaii. He's thrown just 23 career passes. They've got a very experienced offensive line. I think they've got 3 returning starters who account for over 100 starts. So that's probably the strength of Hawaii's offense. Dedrick Parson had 618 rushing yards a year ago, 5.3 per carry, had almost 300 yards receiving too. But the top 3 wide receivers gone. So, Blake, you've got a complete rebuild in the passing game with a guy that's not played before. But on the other hand, there's Vanderbilt, which had 9 sacks a year ago, 6 by players returning. You've got a new coordinator in Nick Howell, who's replacing Jesse Minter, who went to Michigan. You have I think, an improved linebacking core and a secondary that's got probably more speed than it had a year ago, but that's not saying much because, my goodness, when you watched the Commodores last year against Power 5 teams, they were painfully slow.
Yeah. That sack number, I told you this before we started. Like, just remembering the fact that that's how many sacks they had
You
last
can
year, and
almost get that by accident.
for an SEC team, right? Like, that to me is just the big thing that sort of stands out. It's like for an SEC team to only have 9 sacks, it's hard to believe, and that's going to be the difference, right? And I think this year you just have to get some sort of pressure, and I think that's what's going to get, especially a game like this now, knowing that this is a team that's going to set up and try to throw the ball a lot. But like you said, for Hawaii, they're going to do that with someone who doesn't have a lot of experience, doesn't have, basically a new wide receiver unit. So that's going to add another challenge to that system. So I think if you're Vanderbilt, it actually getting Hawaii game one, it's kind of the air raid and what to expect. But I think there's definitely it's going to be a work in progress. I don't think there's any, I mean,
Yeah.
Timmy Chang's not under center, right? So this isn't 2002 or something. So I think that's one of the things where you feel like they're probably still going to be adjusting maybe a little bit to the offense, getting those guys acclimated with how they want to play. But man, like you said, you got to assume Vanderbilt's defense has got to be a little more impactful this year, and by impactful we mean causing some sort of chaos to force the other team not just to be able to do what they want. So,
Well, in spite of the lack of pressure, Vanderbilt did get 13 picks a year ago,
yeah,
which was one of the better totals in the league. Most of those guys coming back, Jalen Mahoney, Ethan Barr, the top two in terms of picks. I saw a lot of Vanderbilt in the spring, gotten to watch the practices. We live in the Nashville area. I do think that defense is going to be better. I think they've gotten better in terms of knowing their assignments. Again, I think they're faster, but the deficit is in the trenches for sure. And they still don't have the speed that most of the other league teams have. But it's Hawaii. On the other side, when Vanderbilt's got the ball, boy, both teams were atrocious on these sides of the ball a year ago. Vanderbilt had probably one of the worst 5 to 10 offenses in the country. Hawaii ranked, I think, 113th in the FBS in total defense, lost 10 starters, including its top 7 tacklers. Vanderbilt, I think, going to try to go run-oriented. Mike Wright, I expect, will start that game. He was a 10-8, 100-meter guy in high school. The staff spent a lot of time trying to teach him to run, not just straight line, but to make some things happen with his feet laterally. He did some of that in the spring. They've got Ray Davis back, their top running back who missed most of last year. He looked healthy. They've got Will Shepard back, who had a breakout year a year ago. Ben Bresnahan, I think, has got a chance to have a good year as their tight end. He's a guy with some NFL potential. I think Vandy, what it's going to try to do, Blake, run the ball, slow the tempo, basically the opposite of what we probably think Hawaii will probably try to do offensively. And I think that comes down to who can control the tempo. And I expect that's what Vanderbilt is going to do. It's probably go ground heavy because Wright is really not where he needs to be as a passer from what I saw in the spring.
and that's where my hesitation is with them. Is I just don't know what to expect from the offense, and I think that's understandable, like you said, based on what we saw last year and really kind of the way things have been trending in recent. I just have no idea what to expect, and I think we've seen Vanderbilt teams before that have where the strength of the team has relied on running the ball, and as we know, specifically in the SEC, that can be difficult to do when you're going up against SEC opponents. But like you said, this is Hawaii. And I think that maybe being able to rely on that a little bit, having a quarterback who can run too, that will help. But as we always say, when you have a quarterback where the first thing out of your mouth sometimes is accuracy is not there yet, like those are just the kind of things that I feel like is going to keep. It's a dimension you don't have that maybe other teams have, and it's just one of those things where that's always going to put that question in your mind. So I still have those questions. I feel like against Hawaii, you should be able to show some things that will at least give you some optimism heading into, SEC play and all that. But I want to see it first because right now I'm not there yet. And I think just needing to see what this offense is going to look like, that's probably the big thing for me heading into this game.
Okay, every preseason computer poll and human poll that I've seen so far has got Vanderbilt as a better team. Odds makers have Vanderbilt anywhere from a 6.5 to 7 point favorite, over under right around 54.5 this morning as we're doing this. Venue, it's going to be in Hawaii, only about 9,000 capacity. I expect that to be mostly Hawaii people. I think they've sold more season tickets than they have seats available. So not the most hostile venue, although I had a nephew that actually played a game there, played in the Mountain West, said the fans will get into you a little bit. But Vanderbilt's going to get there a week ahead of time, so maybe that helps with jet lag and things. I'm going to take the Commodores to win outright, and if I had to pick, cover the points, but I don't feel confident about that, the latter one. And really, basically, the way Vanderbilt's played, you can't feel confident about them beating anywhere, anytime, and take
Yeah.
that to the bank. I have a feeling you're going to go in the opposite direction.
I'm not going to pick Hawaii to win. I'm going to pick Vanderbilt to win the game, but oh man, it's like 6.5. If it was 7, I don't know. Chris, we've seen this before. We talked about this in the
I
schedule
would not
preview.
tell anybody to put money on this game.
I think the people that have seen Vanderbilt play, not just beyond a couple years, it's just for some and I know, right, like it should only be what we this is a different season, it's a different situation, but Vanderbilt fans will tell you, right? I mean, you've seen certainly the reaction. You can go anywhere, social media, message boards, whatever. It's always going to be there.
Yeah.
That thought that this is one of those games that absolutely scares you. because you're just like, you feel like you're the better team. This is, you're going in, you're playing Hawaii, great trip to the beach. Let's go get a win. But then you remember what happened last year against ETSU. You remember what happened, Derek Mason's first game against Temple. I mean, these are the kind of things you just don't forget. And that's why maybe I'm just like, man, I remember these games. And yet I still will
You're going to
go.
give Vanderbilt fans nightmares, and we're going to point the finger right
Listen, if they
here.
go out and win 38 to nothing, that's great. But I I just
But those were some ugly openers. We remember those
yes,
pretty
like you
well.
you can't ignore those. But I am with you. I think they will be a better team this year, even if it does not necessarily show up in the win total. I think they will be improved, is my guess. I just again am gonna have those hesitations based on that. I'll take Vanderbilt outright. I'll take Vanderbilt -6.5. But boy, if that goes any higher than 7, I'm probably wanting no part of that just because I don't necessarily know what to expect from the offense. And I just don't know. That's my thing. Defense, I think they'll be okay. I think they'll be better. Like I said, I think they'll get more pressure. They'll get some picks. Offensively, I still just don't know what to expect. And that's why that would be a hesitation going up against an air raid team that may be a complete work in progress, but still, as we know, that can be difficult to prepare for. So, yeah, that's a long winded way to say I'll take Vanderbilt and the points, but I don't feel great about it either. So,
Lots more of these to come. We're going to preview every week 1 and week 0 game involving SEC teams. Some up, some to come. So thanks for watching. Hit
hey, I
that
got a trivia
subscribe
note,
button.
Chris, real quick.
Oh,
Watch this. I forgot to slip this in. Per our guy Phil Steele. Do you want a trivia note here?
let's
The
have it.
last time Hawaii hosted an SEC opponent, you know who that was?
Would that be Dennis Francione in Alabama?
2003,
The
Alabama.
quasi bowl game.
Hawaii wins that game. So if you're a Vanderbilt fan, look out. That's all I'm going to say.
I happen to know that because I was doing a radio show in Alabama yesterday, and that came up. So
There you go.
lucky
So,
me on the timing.
yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching. We'll have more of these. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you again very soon.